Welcome, College Hoops fans, to the 2K Sports Season Preview Show. We're glad to have you along for what's sure to be another outstanding season of college hoops action. I'm Greg Gumbel, and with me at the anchor desk, my partner, Clark Kellogg. We're ready to give you a look ahead to all the ups and downs of the upcoming season, so let's get the ball rolling with the best teams in the nation in the very first Top 25 poll of the season. These are the top 5 teams in college hoops as we begin the new season. The Oregon Ducks come in as the #1 ranked team, followed by Texas A&M, Wisconsin, Tennessee, and San Diego State. What do you think of the top 5 teams going into the year, Clark?
Those are some terrific teams, Greg, and the thing I find most fascinating about the top 5 is the number of contrasting styles we see here. These teams couldn't be more different, and I love when we have that kind of diversity at the top of the poll.
The Oregon Ducks are projected as the favorites here in the early going. One bit of good news for them, they have last season's leading rebounder coming back for another year.
With that low post presence already established, they'll have a little bit of swagger heading into the season. I look for them to be sharp right from the start.
Texas A&M is in the #2 spot. These are the defending national champions, and they're getting a lot of respect going into this season.
Usually, last year's champs get the benefit of the doubt in the first poll of the next season. So we'll find out soon enough if their position in the top 5 is based on reputation or is warranted.
Wisconsin comes in as #3. They lost a big piece of their team with the departure of last season's leading rebounder.
It's going to have to be a group effort on the boards for a little while until some of the younger big men get the confidence to hold their own game in and game out.
Tennessee starts the year as the 4th-ranked team. They've got a whole crew of high school Mr. Basketballs on this team.
A team is usually happy to land one Mr. Basketball, but with the number they have, this could be a golden era of basketball success at this university. There's nothing but good times ahead.
San Diego State is the #5 team. Their total of 29 wins last season was remarkable.
Trying to live up to that record may be tough, but it's a nice problem to have. They're going to have to rack up a bunch of wins before conference play begins if they want to even come close to that total this season.
Here's the next group of teams in our preseason top 25. What do you think of this group, Clark?
With such a long season ahead of us, it's almost impossible to put a finger on just who the contenders and pretenders are from this set of teams. But that doesn't mean we won't try.
The Butler Bulldogs, the #10 team, have stirred up a lot of talk in the offseason. They carry over 3 starters from last year, so there shouldn't be too much of a learning curve for this team.
Yeah, they've got the core of that team coming back, and that's going to be huge for them. There won't be much of the feeling out process that so many other teams will have to work through early in the season.
The Florida Gators, the #6 team, have also generated a lot of interest. They had a terrific record last season, finishing with 22 wins.
That total.
What do you think of this collection?
I think there were a few teams that were slow.
The Alabama Crimson, the Georgia, as usual, we have a lot of new, the Duke, the DePaul coach. We've come to the part of the show when the Oregon, let's move on. And finally, let's move on to the second team All-Americans. Not such a bad list, huh? These elite players all have the potential to have historic seasons if the right pieces fall into place. The Butler Bulldogs have built their team around this young man's talent, and I'd say that's a pretty good idea.
Kennedy was close to a spot on the first team, but there was too much competition this season. If I had to pick some front runners for the Player of the Year award, he would be right there on the list. I've seen him take over games even when he isn't scoring 30. There are some great scorers among these All-Americans, and he's one of them, but he does much more than score.
The next player on the team is a sensational player in his own right. Texas Hi, everyone. I'm Greg Gumbel, joined at the anchor desk by my partner, Clark Kellogg. Next up on College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. We'll unveil the newest NCAA Top 25 poll, as well as show you the best action from around the nation. But we begin with a special player who was an easy choice as our player of the week in college basketball.
Winans had a fantastic week. He dominated the action from his power forward spot, and that's no easy task in college basketball these days.
He gave an absolutely superb performance, Clark. He just got hotter and hotter as the week went on. His opponents threw a number of different looks at him, but he handled it all. I'm not sure there's a legitimate way to stop him right now. We haven't even begun to talk about his work at the defensive end either. Now, time to unveil this week's brand new Top 25 poll. Georgia Tech didn't make the list of movers and shakers for any of the right reasons. What a drop for them, all the way from the number 14 spot to number 25.
I'm not sure how a team can change so much in such a short period of time, but they certainly have. Nothing seems to be coming naturally to this team anymore. Offensively, they're struggling to create decent opportunities for themselves, and on defense, they're playing as individuals and not as a unit.
Now, let's turn our attention to some of the action of the past week in the NCAA with our Games of the Week. We have a real surprise to show you. Not too many folks expected the result that came from this one. Cal dismantled New Mexico.
Yeah, Greg, nobody saw this coming. New Mexico was sitting pretty as a top 5 team, but you've got to have some doubts about them after a loss like this. Cal played some absolutely stifling defense. They made the guys on the other side work for every basket, and you can see that reflected in the shooting percentage. They never let up on the defensive end. That really took the pressure off the offense and allowed them to dictate the tempo of the game. To me, that was the biggest factor.
And what a game we had as 2 top 10 teams squared off. Wisconsin knocked off Tennessee.
You don't need to say much more than that. With a pair of top 10 teams of their caliber on the floor, there was no doubt this was going to be a monumental matchup. Gross had the hot hand on the winning side. His 17 points led all scorers. What I love about him is he plays with attitude, with an edge, what you need in the paint. He's enjoyable to watch, and he produced again in a big-time fashion in this game.
That's our show, everyone. For all of us here at the 2K Sports Studios, thank you for watching. We'll see you next week on College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. Welcome, everyone. I'm Greg Gumbel here with my partner, Clark Kellogg. Just ahead on College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. We'll preview some of the biggest games coming up this week in the NCAA, as well as show you the best action from around the nation. But we begin with a special player who was an easy choice as our player of the week in college basketball.
Novak had one of the best weeks we've seen out of a big man in quite some time. He was sensational this week, not just compared to other centers, but to any other player in the country.
He gave an absolutely superb performance, Clark. He just got hotter and hotter as the week went on. His opponents threw a number of different looks at him, but he handled it all. I'm not sure there's a legitimate way to stop him right now, and we haven't even begun to talk about his work at the defensive end either. Now let's take a look ahead to the games that get top billing on the schedule in the days to come. This will be a fantastic battle. This is shaping up to be a prototypical style versus style matchup. Great scorers on one side of the court, great defenders on the other. This is going to be a real showdown.
Washington plays a brand of defense that should make the difference in this game. They are a tough team to score against. And if you don't squeeze the orange, they'll take it. I think they'll be in top form for this contest.
And we have another upcoming contest that promises to be a classic. I'm looking forward to this game just like everybody else. This matchup has the possibility of becoming quite a little rivalry because these teams match up so well against each other, and it's always a heated atmosphere when they're on the court together.
USC would be my pick here. They're so strong on the inside that I believe they'll be just too tough to match up with. It would really surprise me if that talent discrepancy on the inside doesn't tell the tale of this game.
There was no shortage of excitement on the court in the past few days, so let's take a look at our games of the week. We had the kind of upset this week that makes college hoops so unpredictable and so exciting. Miami of Ohio beat St. Bonaventure.
This came right out of the blue, Greg. What a wild and crazy game. St. Bonaventure was sitting pretty as a top 5 team, but you've got to have some doubts about them after a loss like this. Miami of Ohio was going into this game looking to build some momentum, and I think they did it, Greg. This one really impressed me just in the way the play.
It is an annual rite of spring, bringing with it excitement and emotion that can be found in no other sporting event. The NCAA Tournament. Your wait is finally over, the brackets are ready, and the drama of March Madness is about to begin. Hello, everyone. I'm Greg Gumbel, and this is the NCAA Championship Basketball Selection Show, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. Joining me at the anchor desk, as always, my partner, Clark Kellogg. We're all set to show you the seedings, but before we unveil the brackets for this season, here's a look. It's time to talk about the topic that has a lot of players and coaches holding their breath right now, the NCAA Tournament Bubble. These are the 10 teams that aren't worried as much about where they'll be playing as if they'll be playing. Clark, who jumps out at you there?
Georgetown had the chance to set themselves apart from the rest of the bubble teams, but they never could get over that hump and guarantee themselves a spot.
And we have a few more teams in similar position, right, Clark?
Utah should be considered among the best of the major conference teams not holding an automatic bid. But there are plenty of non-power conference teams knocking on the door that may prevent them from getting an invitation.
I'm sure it's been a long week for those teams, but the wait's almost over. The NCAA Selection Committee has finished its meeting, and we're ready to unveil the top 4 seeds in this year's tournament. The Wisconsin Badgers are the top overall seed, and they will play in the East Regional. On to the second, the Egg, and finally, Now, here's how the brackets shape up based on where the #1 seeds have been assigned. In one national semifinal game, the winner of the East Regional will play the winner of the San Antonio Regional. In the other semifinal game, the winner of the St. Louis Regional will play the winner of the San Jose Regional. Those games will be played on Saturday, April 1st. Then it'll be on to the national championship game on Monday night, April the 3rd. Any surprises in there for you, Clark?
Well, when you see the selection committee deviate from the top 4 teams in the media poll, it's a little surprising. They've opened themselves up to some criticism with these picks.
So with the #1 seeds out of the way, it's finally time to tackle the rest of the brackets. First up, we take a look at the East Regional. The Wisconsin Badgers are the top seed, finishing at 28-5. They were winners of the regular season championship in the Big Ten. They will take on the winner of the opening round play-in game between Centenary, with 12 wins, and Western Carolina from the Southern Conference. And now the #8 seed, the Oklahoma Sooners, come into the tournament on the strength of a third-place finish in their conference regular season and were semifinalists in their conference tournament. They're going to play the #9 seed, the Western Michigan Broncos, who came in first in their conference tournament, finishing at 24-6. Rhode Island enters the field as the #4 seed from the A10. Next up, the Oregon Ducks are in as the #6 seed. They'll be taking on the #11 seed, the Fordham Rams, with 17 wins. There are going to be some incredible matchups in the later rounds of this bracket. If the top seeds can avoid the early upsets, we can look forward to some real heavyweight battles. Next up, we'll take a look at the San Antonio Regional. The Florida Gators are the top seed, finishing at 26-5. They won both the regular season and conference tournament titles in the SEC. They'll take on Mississippi Valley State's Delta Devils. Central Florida comes in as the #8 seed, finishing at 18. Our #2 seed. Next up is the #7 seed. The Tennessee Volunteers are in as and now the #6 seed, the Nebraska Cornhuskers, come into the tournament after finishing second in their conference during the regular season and were losers in their first. It's the first question. On to our third. Our #8 seed is from the Oklahoma State. Next up is the #7 seed. The Illinois Fighting Illini have established themselves as, and now Virginia comes in as the #6 seed, looking into the future a little. And finally, let's have a look at the San Jose Regional. The North Carolina State Wolfpack are the top seed, finishing at 24-6. They were winners of the regular season championship in the ACC. They'll take on the Howard Bison, the #16 ranked team. This marks their 4th appearance in the NCAA tournament in school history. Next up is the #8 seed. The Kentucky Wildcats have established themselves as one of the. Connecticut comes in as the #4 seed, finishing at 24-7. Old Dominion. Virginia Commonwealth comes in as the #5 seed, finishing at 25-4. And they will take on the 12th seed from the Sun Belt Conference, the Golden Panthers of Florida International. Butler enters the field as the #2 seed from Conference USA. This is their 15th appearance in the NCAA tournament in the history of their school. They'll be getting ready to face the #15 seed. And now the number 7 seed, the Ohio State Buckeyes, come into the tournament as the Arizona. Our number 6 seed is from the Mountain West Conference, the San Diego. I think this could wind up being the bracket that brings us. Clark, give us your take on the tournament's top 16 seeds.
Seton Hall surprised me with their seed. I thought their performance this season would put them in as a 4 seed. Rhode Island snuck into the top 16 as probably the weakest of the 4 seeds, and I'd be surprised if they make it to the real Sweet 16.
Now, let's bring the conference picture into focus. The A-10 gets 7 teams. The Pac-10 with 6, 5 out of Conference USA. The ACC gets 5 teams.
What a down year for the non-power conferences. We're used to seeing.
Here's the list of the teams that were on the bubble heading into Selection Sunday. So, partner, which of those invitees should be sending the selection committee a thank you card?
SMU played in one of the power conferences.
All right, Clark, now that welcome to the 2K Sports Studios. I'm Greg Gumbel, along with my partner, Clark Kellogg. Coming up on the NCAA Tournament Edition of College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. We'll recap the greatest games from the first week of March Madness, as well as give you a preview of some of the huge matchups coming up in the Sweet 16. But we begin with the player who dominated the first week of the tournament.
Collum had one of the best weeks we've seen out of a big man in quite some time. He was sensational this week, not just compared to other centers, but to any other player in the country.
I'd be shortchanging his performance if I put a finger on any one aspect of this young man's performance this week because he did so many things well. I'd have to say this is one of the great all-around performances of the year. There truly wasn't anything he didn't do this week at either end of the court. As usual, the first weekend of March Madness had what are sure to be some of the most dramatic contests of the entire tournament. Our first game was an outstanding matchup from the first round. Mercer toppled Tennessee.
The Mercer Bears were intensely focused coming into this game, and their preparation was outstanding. They looked like they were ready for anything, Greg, kind of like you are when we come into the studio. Rose had the hot hand on the winning side. His 15 points led all scorers. Watching him basically put his teammates on his back and single-handedly carry them to the victory in a big game situation like this was stupendous. This isn't a preseason tournament, Greg. This is the big dance. He stepped up in a way that few players can in this kind of spotlight. And for that, we should give him a big imaginative high five.
This next game was another superb March Madness battle. Butler outdid Loyola Maryland.
Sometimes you see a team come out flat in a first-round game, but that was not the case here. They looked fresh, and this seemed more like a mid-round game to me, Greg. Butler did a tremendous job in the rebounding department. It was truly a dominant performance on the glass. They showed great hustle and determination every time a shot went up on either end. That's always an area that can really be an indicator of a team's performance, and the rebounding numbers told the tale in this one.
Now, let's turn our attention to a few of the huge battles upcoming this week in the Sweet 16. We're really getting into the meat of March Madness now. This will be a fantastic battle. This is shaping up to be a prototypical style versus style matchup. Great scorers on one side of the court, great defenders on the other. This is going to be a real showdown.
North Carolina State is a very good basketball team with an experienced lineup of juniors and seniors who should keep their composure under this tournament spotlight. I believe they'll go out and attack right away and not worry about the pressure at all.
And how about another huge matchup from the third round? This will be a fantastic battle. This is shaping up to be a prototypical style versus style matchup. Great scorers on one side of the court, great defenders on the other. This is going to be a real showdown.
Texas A&M is going to be my pick this time, Greg. Their style could really present some problems on the offensive end of the court. And I look for them to be an absolute handful every time the ball's in their hands.
That's our show, everyone. For all of us here at the 2K Sports Studios, thanks for watching. Enjoy the tournament. We'll see you next week on College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. Hi, everyone. I'm Greg Gumbel, joined at the anchor desk by my partner, Clark Kellogg. Next up on the NCAA Tournament Edition of College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. We'll recap some of the terrific games from the Sweet 16 and Elite 8, as well as give you a preview of the upcoming action from the Final Four. But we begin with the player who gave a virtuoso performance in the second week of the tournament.
DeWitt was a man among boys in the regional finals, partner, and I mean a big man. He knows what to do with the orange. We got to watch an artist at work this weekend.
You got that right, partner. This had to be one of the great Sweet 16 and Elite 8 performances that we've seen. Not only was he clicking on all cylinders offensively, he matched that performance at the defensive end. He threw off the opposing game plan in the first and second rounds. We'll see if he keeps it going into the Final Four. Clark, the past weekend provided some incredible drama, so let's take a look at some of the most exciting contests from the Sweet 16 and Elite 8. Our first game was an excellent Sweet 16 matchup. NC State beat Connecticut.
How many great Sweet 16 games can you remember over the years, Greg? It seems like that round gives us more memorable games than any other, and I was really looking forward to this one all week long. Kamara was the hero of this one with a terrific performance. 50 points led the team. Watching him basically put his teammates on his back and single-handedly carry them to the victory in a big game situation like this was stupendous. This isn't a preseason tournament, Greg. This is the big dance. He stepped up in a way that few players can in this kind of spotlight. And for that, we should give him a big imaginary high five.
Next up was another exceptional tournament contest. Butler knocked off Wichita State.
The Butler Bulldogs were intensely focused coming into this game, and their preparation was outstanding. They looked like they were ready for anything, Greg, kind of like you are when we come into the studio. Butler really muscled up down low and was able to convert a lot of easy chances close to the basket. Whether it was the big men or the guards, they made the most of their opportunities. They established their inside presence from the start and were able to rely on getting their points down low throughout the game.
Let's look ahead to what we've been waiting for all season, the Final Four. With the 4 teams we have, this should be as good a final weekend as we've seen in quite some time. I'm looking forward to this game just like everybody else. This matchup has the possibility of becoming quite a little rivalry because these teams match up so well against each other, and it's always a heated atmosphere when they're on the court together.
Seton Hall plays a brand of defense that should make the difference in this game. They are a tough team to score against. And if you don't squeeze the orange, they'll take it. I think they'll be in top form for this contest.
And the other Final Four contest should be just as riveting. I'm looking forward to this game just like everybody else. This matchup has the possibility of becoming quite a little rivalry because these teams match up so well against each other, and it's always a heated atmosphere when they're on the court together.
Southern Miss has been one of the best teams to this point of the tournament in terms of playing with freedom. And what I mean by that is they tend to